and welcome to another Ask Nerida Joy video. We have another model, a new model here today, and his name is Patrick, and Patrick is actually a stand-in. He's our camera guy, and he has such good skin, but he has just a couple of areas that we were going to go over. We had someone who couldn't make it this evening, and so we grabbed Patrick and said, please, will you be our model here? Can we talk about your skin? So I think what we're going to do is going to look at Patrick's skin. He has a really good skin, considering he's someone who does not do a lot with his skin. He said he cleanses his face in the shower, and he has a really good skin, but he does have these deeper lines on his forehead, which we know are expression lines. He also has an eye area that I can see. He has the fine little lines on the side, a little bit of color around his eyes. So we're going to pick his eye area up and just sort of really help his eye area. Very small pores on his nose area, a few little tiny blackheads, hardly anything. So this is, you know, he's one of these guys that we all kind of say, how does he have such great skin when he doesn't take care of it? So lucky for Patrick, he has a pretty good skin. So for a lot of people that don't want to have Botox done, certainly we can do things to help to lighten the wrinkles, as we did with Lila. But so what we're going to do, we're going to cleanse off Patrick's skin. We're going to work and do some boosting around his eye area, because that's where he's got a little bit of color. He gets a little bit gray, and as I said, he has these tiny, tiny, very fine little lines around his eyes. So I have the cleanser. We're going to cleanse off his skin, and you know, some people are just really lucky. They have great genes, and they, you know, they don't really have many problems with their skin. So Patrick is one of these people that doesn't have a lot of problems. As I said before, we're going to do some boosting around his eyes, and we're going to work on that forehead a little bit just to help lighten up those lines on his forehead, what we call expression lines. So we've cleansed off Patrick's skin. I just used the Light K cleanser. Now I'm going to work in Exfoliant, and I'm going to add a little bit of the healing gel with it, and we're just going to do a light exfoliation on him. Especially, I'm going to be really paying attention to his eye area today. We're going to work in some of the flavonoids and just sort of really help boost that eye area. So here we have the exfoliant. This one has a little papaya in it. It has a little bit of glycolic, so he will feel some tingling on his skin. Has a couple of tiny little scratches on his nose, so we're just going to, it's going to be a little stingy there if we put it on there, so I'm just going to be very gentle around that area. Just do the very tip. We want to make sure, because out here and just on the outside of the eyes is where he's a little bit grey in colour. So I'm just putting the exfoliating mask quite close to the eye area here, so that we can just sort of really give this area a pick-me-up. When you're working product into lines, you want to make sure that you're going in different directions, because it's the same as if you put something on a cotton pad and you're wanting to get it into the wrinkle itself. You want to make sure that you're going different directions to really sort of work the product into that area. Now when a guy has a beard, and Patrick's beard is quite soft, you want to, again, it's when you're cleansing everything that you're doing, you want to make sure that you're getting inside, underneath the hair too. So you need to, again, you need to go in different directions to get underneath the whiskers. So we're going to remove the exfoliating mask. So it's really important, again, to make sure when you're cleansing your face, get under the hair and really sort of work it well, whether you're using a washcloth or sponges, or you're just massaging in your cleanser. But it is the curlier the hair and the stronger the hair, it's definitely not a good sign for ingrown hairs. And the problem with ingrown hairs too, if you don't get them out, infection will build up underneath, and then it also leaves a mark. So you know, sometimes it's challenging. So the best thing to do so that you don't get ingrown hairs is, number one, when you're cleansing your face, make sure, and I do like to use a washcloth, And I do recommend that people use a washcloth or sponges, not just your hands and water. You want to make sure that you're really getting under the whiskers or the beard, and getting underneath the hair, so because it traps a lot of bacteria and dead cells, and it traps everything. So you want to make sure that you're sort of getting under the hair itself, really working it and getting under there to keep the skin clean and to keep it also really soft. It's important to do that. Okay, so we've cleansed, we've exfoliated Patrick's skin. Already his skin looks a little brighter. Of course, it's when someone doesn't do very much to their skin, it's not difficult to make the skin better either. But he does have a really good skin. And as I said, we're just going to really do some boosting around the eyes. This one here is a healing gel. I wouldn't, a lot of people, they don't need to use a lot on their skin, especially if they're not used to using a moisturizer. You don't need a regimen that has, a whole bunch of products in it. You just want to keep your regimen pretty simple if you're not used to using very much, and it's just not necessary to have a bunch of things. So a good cleanser is important, and a good moisturizer, good sunblock. If you're going in the sun, that's important. And in Patrick's case, he does need to be using something around his eyes. So what I'm going to do now, I put the healing gel on, I'm going to work in my Q flavonoid, and I'm going to really take it up quite high around his eyes, put it in a complete circle around his eye area. It's very important to work this in when the eye area is a little grey, or if there's any darkness at all there. It's a thinner skin around the eyes, so you want to make sure that you're always protecting that area and building and strengthening the little capillaries. So here we are, we're just working in our Q flavonoid, and we're going to work it into the nose area, put it around the mouth as well, but I'm going to really put a lot of attention into the eye area and the forehead. So again, we're going to do our circular motions. We're going to go backwards and forwards. We want to get into those lines on the forehead. Remember, they're expression lines, so they're not going to disappear 100%, but we definitely we're going to lighten them up a lot. So we want to be going backwards and forwards. We want to be doing this motion going up on the forehead here too, doing the rolling and getting circulation. That's what massage does. It strengthens muscle tone. It brings oxygen to the blood. It's such a wonderful thing to do, massage. So I always like, and I've said this in previous videos, I like that what Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say is that because our bodies are made of more than 70% water, that it's really important to keep the river moving, otherwise it gets still and stagnant. And so it's the same with the body. Movement's very important when you're walking, swinging your arms, pushing the backward motion, and which helps the lymph nodes, just the bigger lymph nodes, and down around the groin area as well as up under the arms here. You want to make sure the sides of the neck. Massage is very important. To keep things moving is really important. So we work this in up around the eye area. Now we're going to put on some eye gel around the eyes as well, and we're going to massage in some treatment products into the skin. So this is the eye gel. And I'm just going to use the other end, and we're going to, no double dipping. We're going to put that up around the eyes here. So we're working in, we have the Q flavonoid on first, and now we've also put on some eye gel around his eyes. I'm going to just massage around his eyes quite a bit, because we want to get movement there. He's got a little color around his eyes, and as I said before, the skin around the eye area is a thinner skin, so we want to really make sure that we're working that in, and we should be able to see by the time we finish his treatment that his eye area looks a little brighter. So we're going to add some treatment product now and continue massaging his skin. So I'm working in some treatment product, and again, we're going to be doing our massage on our forehead. As I said, I'm going to be going backwards and forwards here on the forehead. We want to lighten up those little lines on his forehead, And we're going to be doing the same around his eye area. So we worked that in. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm not actually going to remove this. I'm going to leave it on the skin, and I'm going to layer a mask over top of it. So we've worked in some of the, we've worked in the flavonoid, we've worked in the healing gel, and I just worked in the hydrating treatment. As we mentioned before, Patrick's skin type is what we call a combination dry. He has very little oil. He only has a few tiny little blackheads on his nose, and it's but his skin is very, very clean. His area where he needs work is his eye area and his forehead in particular. And that's just movement. It's getting oxygen to these areas and just working it so that there's movement there in helping to lighten up, lessen the depth of his wrinkles up on his forehead. So the eye area, again, it just needs movement, and that's why it's so great. When you put on your eye product, you need to be able to go in a complete circle around the eye and just work that area. And it's not something that you have to do all the time, but when you do have some time to just put 30 seconds into it, it's really nice just to work the eye area like this. So I'm going to layer a mask, and the reason why I'm going to layer a mask over top of it is because, he has really good skin, and we just want to be able to give him a little boosting treatment. It doesn't, his skin is very clean, it's not really surface dry, and we just want to give it a little boost. So it's not necessary to be taking things off, putting them on, and we're just going to layer a mask over top. Okay, I think my cameraman has been hearing all my tips all these years and been really taking good care of his skin at home, and not telling us. He's probably got a whole regimen. He could even have more than me. And he's not telling us, because how does somebody have such a wonderful skin unless they're sort of taking good care of it? And he's actually really good even with the sun. Now this mask that I'm putting over top of his treatment products is the Herbal Mask. Again, I'm not going to let it dry on his skin, and he does have the treatment products on underneath anyway, but I'm just going to work it in, just constantly massaging his skin, because his skin needs movement, and that's the one thing that is going to help his eye area, and just to work the product into his forehead like we've been doing. We're just going to continue working it in for a little bit, and then we'll be taking it off. I'm going to remove it now with some warm towels. Now the reason this mask has turned a little bit yellow is because of the flavonoid that's underneath it, and his skin, it's really going to just pick his skin up a lot. So while we're taking this off, I am going to talk about something that was I was asked about recently, and that is about how you take care of your skin when you're flying on the plane. And so a friend of mine had reached out to me and said, how do you feel about using the sheet masks and using different things on the plane, and taking your makeup off on the plane and then putting treatment products back on your skin? And I told her that my thoughts on how you take care of your skin on the plane, and this is from, I do fly quite a bit myself too, and quite long distance, being that my family are all still in Australia, but that it is really good if you prepare your skin and you do your layers, and that's layering with your serum and your treatment product, and I wear makeup, which has a sunscreen in it as well, that you layer and you don't touch your face any further during your flight until you get to the other end. And then you can take it off, once you get to your destination. But the thing is that, flying, it's not that hygienic to be touching your face anyway on the planes, because they're it's not a clean environment. Being that it's so small, the air in there is not great, and the bathrooms are not great either. So it is, it's just not hygienic, and more importantly, it's just not necessary. So you need to layer product on your skin and to support your flight, and that be serums and treatment products, and that is it. then leave it alone. So I'm adding to the story here, because a lot of people talk about the different things that you can, if you like to do a spritz or over top of your makeup, then no big deal, that's all fine. But there's a lot of the sheet masks, people sort of having to do different things on the plane that really are just not necessary. And sometimes, as I said, my thoughts on it is just don't touch your face. I'm always telling people anyway, keep your hands away from your face unless you're cleansing your skin. It's just not hygienic to be touching your skin a lot. So it doesn't matter whether you're an oily skin or a drier skin, it's just better prepare your face for your flight. And that's put your layers on and make sure that it's very drying on the plane, and you need to make sure that you have your sunscreens on too, where you're up very high there, and if you are sitting by a window, of course you are going to be getting a certain amount of sun in through the window, but it's just really important to layer and just protect your skin and just keep it hydrated and prepare that. Make sure you prepare your skin appropriately before you get on the plane. So it's what I do, and it's what I believe obviously to be correct, because it's what works. So if you find you're getting dry on the plane and you need to add more, then what you put on in the first place is not enough, and you're probably a little bit surface dry, and you need to be doing more with your skin. So right now we are removing the mask. As you can see, my towels are very yellow from my Q-flavonoid, and again, we want to make sure we're really sort of getting under his beard, because we want to make sure it's clean under there, and we're getting all the mask off too. His skin feels really good. So I'm going to put a little healing gel on his skin, and we're going to prep it again. It's late over here. We're going to prep it. We're going to put some more of the Q-flavonoid on his skin. And I'm going to take it up around his eye area, because as I said, we really want to pay attention to this. This is something that, a way that Patrick could benefit his skin at home is making sure that he's really putting his product up around his eye area. And that would be, I would recommend for him the Q-flavonoid to be using around his eyes, and then also a really good eye gel that's going to support the darkness. And on his forehead is to work in some treatment serum and to use a good moisturizer on his skin. So he has a really good skin. As we said, it's what we call a drier skin with very little oil, just a few blackheads on his nose. So we're just going to put a little bit of the Q on his face, and we're going to take that around his eye area really well. So we're working it into this area here and onto his nose, forehead. So we're working in, now that's the Q-flavonoid. This is his eye product. Okay, so Patrick, our cameraman, has had a little treatment, and this has been a little boost for his skin with for his lines on his forehead, and a boost around his eye area, and his skin feels really good. So we're all done. Thank you, Patrick, for being here and being a model for us. We've done some nice work around his eyes. We've helped his forehead, his expression lines on his forehead. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.